This program was brought to you by Brisbane City Council Water Meters. The fair way to pay.
Brisbane's finest foods and entertainment. The $30,000 Tin the Brim Fishing Challenge. Heritage and wooden boat displays and new 30th anniversary celebrations. Down by the river, proudly supported by 7 Nightly News.
Now, Fab Total has this big value 1.5 kilo Econopack, which gives you even more washes for your money. And because there's less packaging, you can help reduce waste while you save money.
You know, I want a fagatini in a natural tomato cooking sauce.
With so many fresh pasta and sauces to choose from, Latina really is the pasta you used to go out for.
Hyundai are going to make this Sunday and Monday night 2 nights definitely not for the faint-hearted. Just by watching Tom Clancy's Op Centre on Channel 7, you'll have the chance to win one BTQ pays.
That's better. Mommy!
Wicked stain?
Oh, no.
You need Preen Soaker with dual enzyme power.
The Bears third on the ladder. Fitzroy playing for pride in their last ever encounter with Brisbane. The Bears and the Lions live 2 p.m. Saturday.
Seven Late Night News with Anne Fullwood is proudly brought to you by National Australia Bank, looking after your bigger picture.
7 Nightly News with Anne Fullwood.
Found guilty of fraud charges. A hike in Medicare payments for high-income earners. And the cricket tour of Sri Lanka to go ahead. Good evening. The former tycoon Alan Bond is tonight facing another jail term after a Perth jury found him guilty of fraud. The 58-year-old was remanded in custody for sentencing on Monday.
It was Alan Bond's multi-million-dollar fees that landed him on these 4 fraud charges. It was also events of the 80s that sent Alan Bond to jail in 1992. A conviction he successfully appealed that set him free 3 months later. Then extraordinary scenes as Alan Bond's lawyers claimed he was too sick to face these fraud charges, too depressed, too brain damaged to cope. There were further delays and evidence, witnesses. In the meantime, there were bankruptcy hearings, creditors' meetings. Now, for the past month, it's been all about this impressionist painting, La Promenade, by Edouard Manet, and why and how that painting that was being leased by the Public Bond Corporation ended up with the Bond family company Dalhold. It that cost Bond Corporation shareholders $9.7 million. When auditors questioned it, Alan Bond said it was a legitimate deal because the profits from the sale of the painting would be shared by both companies. The crux of this trial was whether the jury accepted that such a profit-sharing deal did exist.
Pre-budget warning. The Howard government has hinted at a rise in the Medicare levy. The extra slug would be limited to high-income earners without private health insurance, but it represents another broken promise for John Howard.
John Howard is finding it hard to escape the backlash over his planned industrial relations policies and budget cuts. Unionists today tracking him down to outback Queensland to vent their anger.
Very nice of you to come along.
And that anger's deepened, with space in the budget for those earning more than $50,000 a year without private health insurance. That's despite Mr Howard promising during the election campaign that the Medicare levy would not rise.
And it is an absolute fundamental of our approach that Medicare stays come what may.
Mr Howard today refused to comment, but his health minister all but...
It'd be a hell of a lot more unfair to whack pensioners or something like that.
Taxpayers with private insurance would pay the existing 1.5% Medicare levy, but singles on more than $50,000 a year and families earning over $100,000 without insurance would pay 2.5%.
What you're seeing here, an army of the people who brought to you the destruction of Medibank.
If the plan is adopted, the government will be justified in arguing that it's necessary to force the rich to pay for their health care. But for John Howard, there'll be no getting around the fact it's another broken promise. In Canberra, Glenn Milne, 7 Nightly News.
There is a potential crisis tonight in the reconciliation process between black and white Australia. It follows the decision of prominent Aboriginal Gallarine Yunupingu to resign earlier today. And his resignation may not be the last.
Aboriginal leaders arrived at the old Parliament for the 20th anniversary of the Northern Territory Land Rights Act. But after the government's decision to slash $400 million from Aboriginal funding, community leaders were in no mood for celebration.
I think it's the greatest shame that's ever been brought on this country.
Among the guests, John Heron. The fury among black leaders has now prompted the resignation of a key figure on the National Reconciliation Council.
I think it is now considered a waste of time.
The council was established to bring black and white Australia together by the year 2001. Now Mr Yunupingu is also encouraging others to quit.
I hope that I will influence the reconciliation members that they will do the same.
If others follow Mr Yunupingu, it does pose a serious threat to the reconciliation process. However, the council is scheduled to meet again in Brisbane next week. In Canberra, Helen McCabe, 7 Nightly News.
Police reinforcements are on standby in the tiny West Australian town of Halls Creek tonight in fear of more trouble. Like town, terrified police fired warning shots to end 3 hours of rioting.
It began as a drunken brawl at the Halls Creek pub and turned into a riot. Building after building set upon and wrecked as people cowered in fear. At the police station, officers barricaded themselves inside and called for help.
They were stoned. They were bottles, iron bars.
Armed with lumps of wood and rocks, the mob attacked a roadhouse as staff and guests locked themselves in an office.
It's like being in the movies, you know. You only see these things in the movies, and next minute
how are we going to get out alive?
Something you assimilate to seeing on TV. It was, I suppose, the only difference between South Africa, they have rifles and machine guns.
While the mob smashed cars and looted shops, more than 30 police reinforcements flew in from around the Kimberley. By this morning, 66 Aborigines were in the Halls Creek lockup. Local Aborigines say it's not the last of the trouble, and some blame police. Howard Gretton, 7 Nightly News.
It's where there were wild scenes at a union picket in Melbourne today when police clashed with striking workers. As mounted police charged the picket line with batons, some of the men attacked the horses, trying to grab their reins. Police were trying to clear a path into the ACI glass factory to allow trucks through. The dispute erupted last month when the company retrenched more than 60 workers. In the green light to the 2-week tour of Sri Lanka. The ACB says it's been informed that security has improved drastically since February, when the Australian team boycotted the World Cup.
ACB Chairman Dennis Rogers made the long-awaited announcement in Brisbane. The Australians confident adequate security was now in place to tour Sri Lanka.
We are satisfied that all arrangements that we have been met, and then some again. We ourselves have been meticulous in ensuring that those sorts of things were put in place.
The ACB would not reveal its sources, but the new captain of the side says the players fully support the board's decision.
There is a level of reservation about going on the tour, but those reservations will never go away until we go on the tour, and the decision the ACB has made.
Despite another recent bombing in Sri Lanka, the Australians are eager to play. With the tour going ahead, selectors have given Ian Healy the captaincy, Mark Taylor's place goes to Darren Lehman, and Brad Hogg replaces Shane Warne. Warne failed a fitness test at the Gabba this morning, his finger not fully recovered from surgery.
Yeah, obviously it's disappointing, you know. It's everybody knows the way I play. I like to play every game and I don't like to miss anything.
The Australian team win 7 Nightly News. Duro Sen.
Our Olympic heroes were back in the spotlight today as tens of thousands of Melburnians came out to say congratulations. Athletes were mobbed as the parade wound its way through city streets.
Melbourne's rain held off, and instead ticker tape again poured down over the heads of our triumphant Atlanta Olympians. It was their second welcome home parade. Smaller in Perkins, the hero worship was the same.
I actually touched his medal. I said, do you mind if I touch your medal? And I did that.
They were treated to a large reception from the city.
And the City of Melbourne congratulates them and welcomes them to the world's most livable city.
After the shooters' experience in Sydney the other day when their car caught on fire, gold medalist Russell Mark was grateful.
Magic? At least my car isn't on fire either.
The 1962 MG wasn't insured. but parade organisers have decided to cover the $15,000 repair bill. And from owner Ron Taylor, there are no regrets.
I enjoyed the day, and I mean, this is a mishap, but I wouldn't have missed the day for anything. So.
And for the Sydney Games, private security firms are slamming plans to enlist volunteer bushfire fighters and the SES for Olympic security.
And those people are in fact people off the street with little expertise.
There'll be a security summit next month. Lee Hatcher, 7 Nightly News.
Meanwhile, Australian athletes have joined teams from 126 other nations for the Paralympic Games in Atlanta. It was a night of big names, high emotion and anticipation from the Aussie stars.
There was no hiding the excitement of the Aussie athletes as they assembled outside the Olympic Stadium, especially for flag bearer, 9-time shooting gold medalist Elizabeth Kosmala. When the curtain went up, it was a spectacular scene. Probably the greatest highlight was the appearance of Christopher Reeve as host, and his most enjoyable task was to welcome the athletes to the 10th Paralympiad.
Welcome, Australia.
Obviously. Bloody oath, mate. We love it. We'll do it again any day. 10 gruelling days of competition in 17 events lies ahead for our Aussie athletes. But tonight, for the entire 162 of them, is a special memory they'll cherish forever. The entertainment that followed was outstanding. Hall & Oates, Carly Simon, Liza Clark. The theme of the Games, Triumph of the Human Spirit, was delivered dramatically with the Olympic torch as US Paralympian Mark Wellman hoisted himself up 25 metres to light the flame. In Atlanta, Mark Beretta, 7 Nightly News.
Or to get some privacy, and Vietnam vets gather to remember the Battle of Long Tan.
We go over your tax return more than once. Entitled to. H&R Block. Maximum refund, minimum stress.
Fighting a sore throat with most medicated lozenges can be like fighting with one arm tied behind your back.
Their ingredients will kill the germs.
Ah, yes, but they can't relieve the pain as well.
Cepacol. Cepacol also contains an anesthetic.
So on one hand, it kills the pain,
and on the other, the germs.
Double action Cepacol. Beats a sore throat painlessly.
That's it.
Changes. Tax can become more confusing.
Who are you?
On Today Tonight, the cruelest curse.
Any night I sat there and cried.
At bedtime each night, she knows she may never wake up.
No, baby.
There's no known cure.
4-year-old child you'll ever meet. And Queensland's multimedia mogul Jamie Dunn.
There's a serious crap factor in what I do, but it's successful.
Inside the empire a puppet built.
I think you forget who makes the show right.
The Agro Millions. Today Tonight, 6:30.
The foreign room, the Australian government's considering a plan to sell uranium to Taiwan. But the opposition says the controversial scheme would be in breach of the South Pacific Nuclear Free Zone Treaty.
This plan must be abandoned. It must go. And with it, Minister for Foreign Affairs.
The plan is also of concern for our diplomatic relationship with China, which is sensitive to any suggestion that Taiwan might develop nuclear weapons. In the United States, Bob Dole has formally accepted the Republican Party's nomination for president. The 73-year-old former Kemp delivered rousing speeches at the closing night of the convention in San Diego.
After 4 days of speeches, this was the one that mattered, in front of Bob Dole's chance to present his case for the presidency. A speech almost an hour long, promising lower taxes, less government and a balanced budget.
The Clinton administration just doesn't get it, and that's why they have got to go.
Dole made no apologies for it. He calls this race for president one last mission for the World War II generation.
I stand before you, tested by adversity, made sensitive by hardship, a fighter by principle, and the most optimistic man in America.
To the cheer was joined on stage by his running mate Jack Kemp. The two men Republicans hope will lead them to victory in November. And so the Bob Dole campaign for president is off and running, with the Republican candidate behind in the polls, but now armed with more than $80 million in his bid for the White House. In San Diego, Tony Coughlin, 7 Nightly News.
In London, Princess Diana has taken out a court injunction to stop a freelance photographer harassing her. 36-year-old Martin Stenning is banned from communicating with Diana or disrupting. He's taken more harassment from her than she's taken from him.
Keys, my camera bag, stole a pair of sunglasses from there. The list just goes on.
All right, well, the princess has been stalked by a number of admirers. Doctor. Vietnam veterans are back in their old war zone tonight to mark the 30th anniversary of Australia's most infamous engagement, the Battle of Long Tan. But they've received a reluctant welcome from the Vietnamese government.
They came this time in peace, or in Vietnam, revisiting a country still deeply scarred by the conflict. A 200-kilometre tunnel complex near Ho Chi Minh City, formerly Saigon, had the memories flooding back for the diggers.
I was up on top. You didn't know where they were going to come out.
The veterans are here to observe Australia's most significant victory in Vietnam, the Battle of Long Tan, when 100 diggers held a Viet Cong force of more than 2,000. But the diggers are being raised here. The Vietnamese are insisting on a low-key visit, and they are restricting access to the Long Tan battle site. The government of Vietnam is extremely sensitive about the diggers' return. The welcome here has been less than enthusiastic. But with more than 120 money in the pipeline to Vietnam, the diggers and their families back home might have expected more. In Ho Chi Minh City, Dennis Grant, 7 Nightly News.
Back home, turning to finance news, the Australian share market ended the week in a rather Tuesday's budget. The All Ordinaries finished up 6.6, the Dow overnight virtually unchanged. BHP was up 9, Western Mining fell 6, News Corporation lost 4 cents today. The banking sector was a bit stronger. NAB was up 17, Westpac was up 6, and Normandy in the gold. The dollar's at 78.33 US, 50.53 against the pound. The US is at 149.03 Deutschmarks. Gold around 386 and a quarter. The FT 100 trading up about 16 points. The Nikkei fell today. The Hang Seng was up. Now, a Perth man has pulled off one of aviation's most amazing repair jobs, dangling mid-air outside his plane to fix the landing gear. 3 other passengers held Brian Howson by the legs as he completed his daring escapade.
Brian Howson is outspoken. He describes hanging out of an aircraft at 3,000 metres as a bit unusual. With 3 other passengers, Mark Sutton, Des Johnston and Stan Hallstrom, Mr Howson was heading for Telfer on board this single-engine Cessna when the wheels failed at a belly landing.
We were prepared for that. We were. I think all of us knew that possibly was going to be the outcome.
Then it was decided to try to pull the wheels back into a locked landing position. That meant Brian Howson would have to lean out of the open door of the aircraft. Did you have to think twice about it, Brian?
Not really. It wasn't really anything to think about. They said it could be done, so it obviously could be done.
With his mates hanging on to him, Brian leaned out, both described hearing the wheels lock into place. It's a magic moment.
The second one, and particularly when it clicked into place, and Desi said we got a green light that the wheels were in place and everything's down.
Important Nightly News.
Not a bad job, that one. Coming up, the Auckland Warriors blow a big lead and possibly their semi-chances, and a thriller at the MCG.
Oh, look at this. All on his own. Tinga.
It's crunch time for John Howard. Next Tuesday, the first coalition budget in more than a decade. Will it be slash and burn? Is your superannuation under threat? Special previews, coverage and expert comment on 7 Nightly News.
Mother's Day catalogue, and you could win Dadda's shed full of gear valued at $5 grand plus thousands of instant prizes. Just take this catalogue into Bite of 10, check your lucky number, and you could be a winner. Check out these ripper gift ideas for Dad. Handy toolbox $9.95, Dynalink bench drill $99.90, $69, Black & Decker cordless drill $99.95. Rip into Bite of 10 and give Dad heaps.
Bite of 10 out of 10 every time.
The Henley collection of luxury homes. Now all homes are under $3,000 per square. The Oak Elegance, $122,900. The award-winning Lodge, 38 squares for only $109,900. The Manor Rumpus, 30 squares for only $89,900. And the 24.8 square Hawkesbury, now only $73,000. Properties Display Centre, Gowan Road, Stretton, or Boyander Street, Wishart.
Discover a golden moment in every Ferrero Rocher.
To make this Sunday and Monday night 2 nights definitely not for the faint-hearted. Just by watching Tom Clancy's Op Centre on Channel 7, you'll have the chance to win one of 2 powerful new Hyundai Coupes.
Mitre 10, Mitre 10, out of 10, every time. Mitre 10, out of 10, every time.
Now to sports news, and in the AF Georgia talks to take on Fremantle tonight, and it was a close match. And if you don't want to know the final score, here's your chance to look away now. Melbourne jumped to an early lead at the G, but Fremantle quickly pegged them back.
Melbourne fans were thinking long-term tonight, but the players were more concerned with win over Carlton.
Farmer's going to kick a goal.
And the Demons picked up where they left off against the Blues.
Brett Lovett does well.
Some of the running play the Dockers are renowned for helped them to 4 of the first 5 goals of the second term.
Hooks it back.
The Demons still had the firepower to frustrate.
Good stretch by Needs.
Quick goals early in the second half, including one to the Warhorse, Steins, saw Melbourne establish a handy lead.
Steins going to get another chance. He's got a goal after all of that.
The Docky and Hunter, who booted his third.
He's now got 3.
Coops caught Nettleback in gold in the final term, reducing the margin to just 7 points.
Very high, pretty straight.
But with the knowledge the club is on the verge of merging, the Demons may be one of their last games slip. Des Dowling, 7 Nightly News.
Now to Rugby League, and Auckland's chances of qualifying for the league playoffs dive tonight. The Warriors beaten by Canterbury. After leading by as much as 14, Onu missed a conversion on full time to salvage a draw.
With their playoff hopes flickering, the Warriors couldn't afford another Friday night fizzle. An early penalty goal and a bit of inspiration from veterans Greg Alexander and Phil Blake lighting the fuse near lead.
The centre and the winger go up. Halligan loses it. That's a try for mine.
3 minutes later, Blake again stirring up the Bulldogs' ruck defence. The Warriors once more attacking.
Inside for Rapati. Puts it over the line.
14-0 after 22 minutes. The Warriors attempting to drive the life out of Canterbury. But with half-time approaching, the reigning premiers finally found their class.
Stephen Hughes gets it over the line.
A strong breeze, the least of Auckland's people bringing out the years in Blake. The difference down to 2.
Eyes donkey licked them at the finish.
Terry Lamb's savvy and Craig Palamounta's strength forcing the Bulldogs in front for the first time.
Is over the line.
The Warriors are waiting until the last minute to score a point in the second half, trailing 2018. Gene Namu with the chance to salvage a draw after the bell, but the miss left the Warriors' finals battle over, and like Canterbury thinking about next season. Matthew.
Still to come, we have the weekend weather outlook, and the Variety Club Bash reaches its destination.
Here at CNN, we're proud to focus on news from around the globe. And when events happen down under, 7 News consistently provides us with the stories we need.
In Australia, the largest commercial television...
7 News that we here at NBC get the latest news stories for programs like today.
7 News brings the world into your home.
The world turns to 7 News.
Prima has a special rich flavor. We select extra virgin olive oil, hand-picked mushrooms, whole Mediterranean olives, and fresh Italian herbs. New Dolmio Prima. The specialness within creates the Dolmio Prima Green.
Find out why the Jack $990 takes the power of beating. See your participating Holden dealer for a test drive.
The Henley collection of luxury homes. Now all homes are under $3,000 per square. The Oak Ridge, 41 squares of $1,900. The award-winning Lodge, 38 squares for only $109,900. The Manor Rumpus, 30 squares for only $89,900. And the 24.8 square Hawkesbury, now only $73,900. Display Centre, Gowan Road, Stretton, or Boyander Street, Wishart.
Now let's have a look at the weather outlook for tomorrow, and on the satellite some reassuring rains through central eastern farming districts. Not great amounts, but welcome all the same. Coastal shower while northern Australia is dry. On the prognostic chart, a high pressure ridge across central Australia and Queensland will bring fine weather to most of the country. Fine conditions all across Queensland yet again. 28 for Cairns, top of 24 for Brisbane. Tamworth some rain and 21 degrees. Broken Hill 17 and cloudy. Newcastle and Sydney 21 and 19, fine weather, some rain for Albury, and Canberra cool 13 and partly cloudy. In Victoria, rainy conditions prevail, 16 for Mildura, fine, and 15 degrees in Melbourne though, but rain the rest of the way. Hobart 12 and rain. In South Australia, Adelaide 15 degrees, Mount Gambier some rain and 12, Perth a fine 17 degrees, and Alice also raining and 16. The Variety Club Bash that runs from Bondi to Bachelor in the Northern Territory has reached its destination. After 7 days and nearly 5,000 kilometres, the field of pulled into town this afternoon. The bash is a charity fundraiser and a bit mad, and organisers say almost $1 million has been collected by this crazy crowd. It'll be distributed to needy children. Well done. And that is the news to the minute. I'm Anne Ford. Have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday. Good night.
Seven Late Night, proudly brought to you by National Australia Bank. Looking after your bigger picture.
Brisbane's finest foods and entertainment. The $30,000 Tin the Brim Fishing Challenge. Heritage and wooden boat displays and new 50th anniversary celebrations. Down by the river, proudly supported by 7 Nightly News. The Bears third on the ladder. Fitzroy playing for pride in their last ever encounter with Brisbane. The Bears and the Lions live 2 p.m. Saturday.
When a life-threatening tragedy strikes, there are really only 3 responses possible. Fight to save yourself, give up trying. And sometimes the answer lies in a strange combination of all 3. Tonight, you'll see Mark and Kathy Hodges, whose happy, precious family life suddenly and unexpected, and only a miracle could help them put their world together again. Lives of ordinary people have been changed forever by miracles and other wonders.
This week on Coast Watch, hot Sunshine Coast bodyboarder Troy Thornton. Our chef Sally Jennings bakes a brim, and Marty Cowling spins for Taylor on Fraser Island. That's on Coast Watch, 5:30 Saturday.
The Henley collection of luxury homes. Now all homes are under $3,000 per square. The Oak Ridge, 41 squares of timeless elegance, $122,900. The award-winning Lodge, 38 squares for $1. The Manor Rumpus, 30 squares for only $89,900. And the 24.8 square Hawkesbury, now only $73,900. Visit a Henley Properties Display Centre, Gowan Road, Stretton, or Boyander Street, Wishart.
Discover a golden moment.
The Bears could surge closer to the top of the ladder as they tackle the Lions Saturday on 7. It's Fitzroy v Brisbane, and every point will count as the Bears make a bid for their first home final. Catch the live footy action 2 o'clock Saturday.
All of us share childhood memories of those golden rule days, the homework, the field trips, the playground. And if we were lucky enough to call our teacher our best friend, there was perhaps nothing wrong between student and teacher is usually temporary, ending with summer recess or graduation. However, in the case of 13-year-old Belinda Mills, the bond was more permanent, and on one occasion, proved to be nothing short of miraculous. After the death of Belinda's mother, when Belinda was only 9 years old, to look at life through a veil of tears. To make matters worse, she had been born extremely nearsighted, and so was forced to wear thick, unattractive glasses, which only made it more difficult for her to make friends and have an environment.
Can you see the numbers? Maybe you need a magnifying glass. Oops, forgot. You already got a pair of those.
Luckily for Belinda, she'd gotten a very special teacher. Mary Anderson can literally change the course of a young life. Ms. Anderson had worked closely with Belinda on improving her reading skills despite her poor eyesight. The two had become fast friends, and now, with Belinda moving, they might never see each other again. Belinda had left behind a drawing from Ms. Anderson that showed Justin.
Hey, Belinda, who does this remind you of?
But there were parts of Belinda's school life that she was...
What are you gonna do now? Go home to Mommy and cry?
No. My mom died when I was 9.
Can I give you a hand? Hey, thanks for the picture you drew me. It means a lot to me.
I hoped you'd like it.
Oh, yeah. But you know, yourself. Come on, I've got something for you, too. Come on, it's right in here.
Thanks, but Belinda rarely visits anyone with my work schedules.
I could take the bus.
We better get going. It was very nice to meet you. I'm sorry it had to be on Belinda's last day here.
Well, all right, then. You. Bye, Belinda.
Bye.
Then Belinda, teacher, for what she believed would be the last time. She could not have imagined that she would be seeing Ms. Anderson again soon, and would never have dreamed of the way that meeting would come about.
Honey, I'm worried about you. You could lose your glasses. You could get hit by a car or something. I'm glad you got such a good friend. When your mother died, you need other friends besides me. Guess I'm just a little jealous.
Of Ms. Anderson?
Yeah. It's a really nice little something for you like that a long time ago.
You do a lot of cool things for me. You're the best dad in the world. I love you very much.
But best he could at raising a daughter by himself, and she understood that he felt left out by her love for Ms. Anderson. That night, Belinda's father found his had yet taken another dramatic turn. Would actually come true and pose a terrible threat to his beloved daughter.
See you later.
Now more worried about his daughter's safety than ever, Belinda's father kept her at home as much as possible while he worked long hours as a county maintenance supervisor. Throughout the long summer, Belinda tended the house and school year.
But when are you ever going to let me do something by myself?
Some of the biggest stars of Hollywood. Saturday, from the director of The Great Escape, comes a magnificent 7 events. Starring Hollywood legends Yul Brynner, Charles Bronson, and Steve McQueen. We deal Robert Vaughn and Eli Wallach.
How many of you did they hire?
Enough. Catch the coolest cowboys of all time in the greatest Western ever made, The Magnificent 7.
The Henley collection of luxury homes. Now all homes are under $3,000 per square. The Oak Ridge, 41 squares of timeless elegance, $122,900. The award-winning Lodge, $38,900. The Manor Rumpus, 30 squares for only $89,900. And the 24.8 square Hawkesbury, now only $73,900. Visit a Henley Breton or Boyander Street, Wishart.
After more than 40 years, the Brisbane River's historic fishing competition is back. Now your chance to hook some of the Breakfast Creek Hotel's Tim the Brim Fishing Challenge. It's a weekend of fine foods and non-stop entertainment. There's a river regatta, heritage boats and displays, and celebrating 150 years of the Down by the River Festival, August 24 and 25 at Newstead House. Proudly supported by 7 Nightly News.
Now there's the building you want. You see it?
Uh-huh.
Your paper says it's number 1.